Well, hi, this is Sue, the Soggy Stamper. It is Friday afternoon, and it's time for my Fabulous Friday Facebook Live, and I am excited to share with you a card that I saw. Actually, it was a video on YouTube, and it was created in centimeters and for an A4 card, and I was able last night to figure out how to do it in an A2 size. So I'm really excited about this. I want to show you. Look what it does. You pull, and look, it flaps out like that. Isn't that so cool? You can slide it in, and then you pull it out. Flap. Oops. Yep, that's still holding in there. And you push it back in. So there's a little pocket that this fits into. So let's get started on making it. The first thing you need is a piece of cardstock that is, let me get my measurements. It's 9.5 by 4 3/4 inches. Stick it over here. And then we have another piece of real red that is 3 1/4 by 6 1/2, and this is the flip section. And then we have a little mechanism here. It's 2 by 2 1/4, and I have a sheet of basic white, which will go for our greeting for this one. And then I've already stamped and cut out this one. It would be a piece that is 2 1/2 by 2 1/4. If you needed to cut your cardstock first, but any size scrap will work. And I'm going to be using 2 different die sets. This is the Stylish Shapes, and I used this die to cut out the greeting, love and joy. And then I'm using this die set. This is the Joy of Noel dies, and we're going to be using this die to cut out our Noel letters. Then we're going to be using 3 different stamp sets. That's one of the things that is really great about Stampin' Up! Is that you can mix and combine stamp sets. So I was trying to find a good greeting. Here's the stamp set with the Noel. And just by itself it's decorative, and you can use just that. And then I used Brightest Glow for this Wishing You a Season of Hope and Light. And Merriest Trees, because I love the font, the Love and Joy. So we're using 3 different stamp sets, 2 different die sets, and they all work together so nicely, thanks to Stampin' Up's desire to have things coordinated. Then also, we're going to be using Designer Series paper, and this is the Joy of Christmas Designer Series paper. This piece has music notes on one side, and then it has these berries. There's a better thing on the back side, but I'm using the holly and the berries with this. It has a whole lot of really beautiful Designer Series papers in it. And I have already stamped Noel on this. This is a piece of white cardstock that has been backed with thick adhesive sheet so that it will pop up. If you can look, can you see? What the heck? My monitor just went off. I can't see what I'm doing. Can you see the thickness of it right here? So anywho, that is what we are using today to make our card. And the first step is to cut and score and cut the card base. So like I said, this is 9.5 by 4 3/4. And I'm going to score it at 5 1/2. So that the bottom of the card is 5.5. So we'll score it at 5.5. And then we're going to make 3/8 inch line along both of the long sides. And I have found that a mechanical pencil is a great help because it will fit in to the groove and make your mark. Just like that. You don't need to have a ruler to hold down to line up. They will do it just like that. So we'll put the other at 3/8. There's the 3/8. And we'll draw another line. Now the score line is right here. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe I'll use pencil line so you can see it better. There. So you can see this is our score line. This is 5.5. And then this is the 5.5. This would be 9.5 would be a 4-inch square. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut. You can do this with paper snips if you want, but I am going to, and I'll probably get my head away. I'll try not to, but I'm going to cut along this line here up to the score line, just like that. No, not quite. A little further. There. Now turn around. Put the score line there. And I will go and cut down that way. So you have 2 loose flaps. I'll put this out of the way for a minute. Now with my paper snips, I'm going to cut those flaps off with a slight angle here. See?
Can I wash the dishes? Just nod your head, yes or no.
And then we need to score. Get the paper trimmer out of the way. Score along that line. And we don't have to worry about erasing our pencil lines because this is all going to be tucked inside the card. Be sure to burnish well. And then you get a thing, flap like this. So that's the first part of it. We'll be putting it together in a bit. Okay, so for the flip section, you're going to score at 3.5 inches. Like that. And while we've got the scoring, the paper trimmer out, for the mechanism, we're going to score 3/8 of an inch. So this is the 2 1/4. We're going to score across the ends 3/8 of an inch. And one of them folds this way. and the other one folds the opposite way. So this is the mechanism that we're going to be using. Okay, so the next step is to actually put some designer series paper on our cardstock. So we'll start, this is going to be, this side and this side won't show, because as you pull out the mechanism, see, you see the front sides. So I'm not going to worry about putting designer series paper on these, but we're going to put it on the inside, and this will go right here, like so, but we need to stamp our greeting on it. And this says, wishing you a season of hope and light. I'm going to use real red. And I know that this is not, the label is not on accurately. So before I do anything, I'm going to check and see just how far off it is. Not too terribly bad. Let's see if I can get it lined up well. Here. That worked out pretty good. A little bit of stamp and seal on the corners. There. And then I have a piece of designer series paper to fit here. So we can put that on. And while we're at it, we can put the greeting there. I'm not going to use Stampin' Dimensionals because I want to not make this any thicker than what it is going to be. So that part's done. Now on the front here, we have this, which will go right there. This piece is 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. Oop. Come on, let's be straighter. There. So we've got that part done. Okay, so the next step is to start putting it together. We have this piece, which is 1 1/2 by 3 3/4, and it goes here. But I'm going to put it on after I make the pocket, seal the pocket, so that it stays, so it helps to cover over the joint there. Patty Bennett pointed that out. And one thing I'm going to do before anything is I'm going to punch and put my ribbon on the pole, for the pole thing. This is an old retired punch, a slot punch. I looked around with my die sets and I did not find one that had a slot, so I think I have one, but I just couldn't find it. So I'm going to punch it with an old retired punch. And since my hands are fairly shaky, I am going to use a pair of tweezers that I got from Amazon to help hold this shut, the ribbon in place, while I tie some linen thread around it. So to that, I'm going to wrap the thread around a couple of times. Come on. Pull it tight. Ta-da! Sometimes things go exactly as you hope when you're doing live stamping. Other times, not so much. This one went much better than when I made my sample. And then we need just a very short amount of the ribbon, so I'm going to cut it off about there, because I don't want it to be sticking out over the edge of the card. So it's going to be about like this. And it's just enough to grab hold of that to pull it. Okay, so now the mechanism. I'm going to use multi-purpose liquid glue because you can reposition if necessary. This will go like this on the back of a flap. So put some glue along there. And I'll try to get it even and straight. And the reason why multi-purpose liquid glue is because you can adjust it a little bit. Ah, well, look at that. I did not score it straight. How come? It'll have to be like that then. And then this will glue to the card front. So when it comes out, it holds like that. So we'll put some glue there. And I want to make sure so it folds down. Turn it over this way, it'll be better. You want it to be evenly spaced. Oh, come on. Like that. I can straighten it a bit. Well, there. Okay, now I am going to use tear and tape to fold back for the sides here, so that they stay real good. got a little bit of it hanging over the edge, so I'm going to tip it back, brush it back like this, because I do not want it to inhibit the movement of my card. Let's see, is this still straight? No. And you want to make sure that this flap, the flip flap, is under the edges of the card. Okay, now let's hope things hold together and pull out the flap. Perfect. See how that works? Isn't that cool? Now but it's starting to come back. The edge is coming apart. There. Now it's tucked back in. Now it's undone totally. A little bit of tear and tape on there. Now, it's kind of catching up. There's corners in here, and it's kind of catching up, particularly on this corner here, and that's why we're going to put this piece on, and it's going to go over those corners slightly to close them off. Patty Bennett was making a card similar to this, and she discovered that that was the secret, because she was having the same problem with it not going back and forth easily. So thank you, Patty Bennett. Oh, come on, don't do that. There, it covers those. So now you can pull it up, and you should be able to flip it back in. Yay! Okay. Okay, so now the last thing to do is to cut out our no L with the die, and I'm going to step over to my die cutting station. I'll be right back. The die is small enough that you could use the mini die, stamp and cut and emboss. But I needed to have some really good pressure to run it through because it's like, how thick is it? About, not quite, about 1/8 of an inch thick. So we have our letters with the foam sticky on the back. And it doesn't really matter if it didn't cut clear through the paper backing, because you can just peel it off. Peeling it off your fingers is another story, though. And I'm going to put this diagonally down. Put the top one and the bottom one. Neighbors are pounding something against the garbage can. That sets the dog off. Sorry about that. New dog. We're really working with her to be quiet. So be placed about like that. One of the things that's kind of difficult working with is if your fingers have a bit of glue on them, because the letters want to stick to your fingers as much as anything. I think I better leave it as is. So there we have it. Oh, let's put a little bit of bling on it. I love coloring rhinestones with my Stampin' Blends. This is Real Red Stampin' Blend. And if you use the bullet point, you won't fray the brush quite as much. So we'll scatter 3 of them on our design. Oh. Oh, come on. Put one on top of a berry. Man, they're sticking well to the paper. There we go. I'll put one down here. I'm going to add a little more color because those are more pink than red.
Mama's trying to do a live television thing or internet thing.
There. So anyway, there we go. Love and joy. You can sign over here. And it slides back in. Such fun. I'm glad that you were watching. If you have any questions, oh, now I have glitter. I think I'll put one of those on my thumbnail. Well, maybe. An extra rhinestone. Yeah. At any rate, if you have any questions, you can email me, sue@soggystamper.com. My blog is www.soggystamper.com. And my online store is creationsbysue.stampinup.net. If you have any need for any of these products, I would welcome you as a customer. Really appreciate my customers. If it actually helps to fund my habit. And this will be on my YouTube channel this afternoon, The Soggy Stamper. You might be wondering, why The Soggy Stamper? Well, when I first started being a demonstrator, I was living in southeast Alaska, and it is a temperate rainforest, and they get up to more than 90 inches of precipitation. More than 90 inches on a average basis, and so we get lots of rain. Now I live in the Pacific Northwest. We still get lots of rain, just not quite as much. So that's why I'm the Soggy Stamper. Thanks for watching, and come back next Friday afternoon. We will have some other kind of a fun thing to demonstrate for you. So have a great weekend. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.